President Obama gave his last speech to the United Nations yesterday at the 71st United Nations General Assembly in New York. During his speech, he promoted the establishment of a one world government in many different ways. At one point, he states, "As President of the United States, I believe America has been a rare superpower in human history insofar as it has been willing to think beyond narrow self-interest. That while we've made our share of mistakes over these last 25 years, we've bound our power to the international laws and institutions." Remember that statement right there. We've bound our power to the international institutions and their laws. And we can only realize the promise of this institution's founding to replace the ravages of war with cooperation if powerful nations like my own accepting constraints. Sometimes I'm criticized in my own country for professing a belief in international norms and multilateral institutions, but I'm convinced that in the long run, giving up some freedom of action here in the United States, the President is actually adhering or advocating that, not giving up our ability to protect ourselves or pursue our core interests, but binding ourselves to international rules over the long term enhances our security. So there again, he's saying, hey, yield up some of our sovereignty and bind ourselves to these international laws and rules. He goes on to say, we are all stakeholders in this international system, and it calls upon all of us to invest in the success of institutions to which we belong. And the good news is that many nations have shown what kind of progress is possible when we make those commitments. So President Obama makes the statement, we've bound our power, the United States power, to international laws and institutions. So here's my question. In your mind, is the United States governed by the U.S. Constitution or the United Nations Charter? Well, I thought we signed a Declaration of Independence and established a Constitution to govern our nation. After defecting from England because of the tyrannical rule of King George, our forefathers sought to build a new country that was governed by the people. These were educated men, and they knew that over time there would be those who would try to usurp authority over free American citizens. In order to declare our freedom from oppression and provide a safeguard against a tyrannical government ever enforcing its will upon free people, the original founders wrote the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. These documents clearly define the mindset of our forefathers in the late 18th century. The opening statements of the Declaration of Independence provide a distinct remedy for the infectious disease of a tyrannical government, which would seek to deprive free men of their God-given rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Declaration states that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That's from the people. Now, folks, we signed a Declaration of Independence because we do not want to be ruled by any tyrannical entity, domestic or foreign, i.e. the United Nations. The one world government that President Obama has promoted over and over in his speech is nothing more than the future global authority prophesied to be ruled by the Antichrist just prior to the second coming of Jesus Christ and the Battle of Armageddon.